Hi, and welcome to Decoding Helix. This is episode 6 of our podcast, and I just wanted to welcome you and thank you very much for joining me. My name is Sabin, I'm your host, and today's episode is basically going to be getting a little bit more personal, and is going to answer some questions, hopefully, that are somewhat basic, but that I don't find a lot of information out there on, in the ether about this kind of topic. So I was hoping that, I can at least give you my angle and my story, and you guys can go from there. So let's get stuck right into it. Right, so, one of the things that I have sort of seen as a trend is everyone says, go out there and do it, reach for the stars, reach for your dreams, do what you have to do, man, like pick yourself up by your bootstraps and, just get stuff done. But one thing that nobody ever seems to address, and if they have, it's extremely seldom and people just touch on it and then leave it alone, is how in the world do you start a business off when you have bills to pay, when you have a family to look after, and, when you've got everything pretty much riding on your shoulders? Now, I said that this podcast is a personal one, and it is because I'm pretty much sharing my experience with you. So I want to go into a little bit of detail as to what I've done so far and how I'm able to take my business to, where I want it to go, in the direction I want it to go. So one of the things that I never understood myself was, okay, I have an idea, I really want to get it off the ground, but I need to pay the electricity bill, which in my area seems to kind of, rise and fall depending on when the electricity company sort of decides that it should go up and go down. Because as far as my bill tells me, my electricity usage doesn't go up any farther or lower. It kind of stays even. So, like, just for example, one time it might be something like $600 or $800, whatever it is. I think it's about $600. And then, another time it'll be about $1,200 or $1,300, which is absolutely crazy. But anyway, let's just give you a little bit of an example of what I'm going through, right? So I don't know if you can relate to this. If you're in Australia, this is, purely for Australian people. If you're listening to this like in the States or somewhere else, you're probably facing something similar, but the prices are going to be a little bit different. So that's one of the things that I was facing is like, how do I pay my bills? How do I pay, my internet bill and my water bill and my gas bill and all of this kind of stuff and maintain, car maintenance bills, and all the fun stuff that goes with that. Keep my family taking over, put food on the table, provide a shelter. And on top of that, I have this crazy idea that I want to start a business all of my own, and that's going to take money, and I know that. So I'm kind of scared because I don't know where all of that, how it's going to happen, how it's going to pan out, and what it's going to look like for me and my family in the long term, or in the short term as well. To me, it was kind of crazy, but I looked for those answers, and it doesn't seem like anyone out there is willing to share this kind of information, or, they might, but it just doesn't, for some reason, it's not in the mainstream, So you really have to dig for it, and again, it's like pulling teeth with people. They don't really want to tell you what they're actually doing and how well they're doing or how badly they did at the beginning, financially speaking, and how they were able to still sort their lives out. So that's what this episode is about. And to me, like I said, I want to get real personal and tell you my experience so that hopefully it'll drive a picture or it'll draw a picture of where I came from and where I'm at now. Now, just so you understand, I'm not rich. I'm not well off or anything like that. I have some stuff, but it's not a great deal of stuff. I mean, for the longest time, I was driving my brother's car around because I couldn't afford to drive one. And I couldn't afford to buy one. Not that I couldn't afford to drive one. And right now, if you're wondering, not that you are, but I'm still not driving my own vehicle. It's actually my dad's. So there you have it. That's me in a nutshell right now. Um, does that mean that I shouldn't, keep going with this business idea? Is it taking a lot of, resources and money away from my family, like my kids, my wife, and all that? The honest answer is the only thing that it's doing right now is it's taking a lot of time that I could be spending with them. For instance, here I am sitting in front of the microphone talking to you guys, while my wife has volunteered to take our kids out, which is really cool of her. I want to thank you so much for doing that if you're listening. But yeah, so, it's taking a lot of time, and that's the biggest thing that I understood even before I started this, that it was going to take from me. So it takes dedication, it takes drive, it takes time, and yes, it does take money to start a business. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's no such thing as free, and the resources that are free are very limited, so you won't be able to take it to that next level that you really actually need to be on. Well, anyway, let's get to, the whole crux of the thing. So, honestly, for me, it was like this. I knew I wanted to start a business. I didn't have a ton of money on hand to do that. We're basically living from week to week on the paycheck that I made going to work. I knew that I didn't fit in. Like, I've worked a few jobs. I started off in the manufacturing industry. Then I moved into warehousing. Then I moved into management in warehousing. Then I moved into customer service from that. Man, it's been a crazy journey for me. But my idea was I need to learn as much as I can. That way, you know, I can pretty much provide as much value to someone that's willing to hire me, and they're willing to see that, you know what, this kid's not afraid to pretty much do whatever it takes. That hasn't completely been the case. As it turns out, I was wrong, and I'm willing to admit that. But hey, it's something that I learned from, and it's on my own skin, and it's because that's pretty much how I am. And I'm pretty sure I've got some form of ADD or something like that I've never been diagnosed with, because I get bored really easily. However, I got to say this, with this business that I've started, it's constantly just so different from day to day. It's a challenge. It is, small wins. It's learning. There's just so many facets to it that it's not boring for me. So it keeps me engaged. It keeps my mind engaged. And that's what I'm really sort of looking for in a career. So, yeah, here's pretty much how I started. Like, this is where it all began for me. I wanted to start a business, and so I did. And if you listen to episode 5, I wrote down the list of the things that I needed to sort of start off. But I was freaking out the entire time, I needed all this stuff, and I thought, man, some of this is going to cost me money. Where am I going to get it from? And more importantly, where am I going to get the time to be able to do this from? If I've got to work, anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, where am I going to find the time to, have a fresh mind to be able to think up of what I need to do to get this business off the ground? And there's no secret to this. There's a whole bunch of other people that you might have heard on the internet, like Gary Vee, for instance, who basically says, you know what, you're just going to have to work 2 jobs. That's just going to be your lot in life. Get used to it. You don't necessarily have to like it, but that's what you're going to have to do. And that's pretty much what I did. And this is even before I heard of Gary Vee or anyone like him out there that was just saying, you're just going to have to take it. If you want to start something, it's on you. Nobody at your place of work and none of your friends and none of your family is going to be a part of this, because, let's face it, they'll think you're crazy. They think you're nuts for trying to do something that, like, why would you want to rock the boat, man? You got a job, it pays you from week to week. What more could you want? As it turns out, I want a lot more. That's just I don't know, it's the way my brain works. It's not wanting more for the sake of having more stuff. I don't care for more stuff. My ideal situation is having what I need to be able to live happily. Okay? But wanting more to me means I get to create. It means I get to be a part of something, to build something that's going to outlast me. And beyond that, I mean, I don't really have plans to buy like a mansion or a yacht or anything like that. But that's pretty much what I have to do. And I'm still, well, up until very recently, I was still working, going to work, getting that paycheck, and then coming home, seeing my kids for a couple hours, spending some time with my wife, and then pretty much just coming into my office and doing what I had to do. Send emails, make phone calls, and just keep slugging it out. Do some research, find out new ways of doing things, see what works out there, see what doesn't, test things out for myself. And that's what I've had to do. And if you're serious about starting your own business, that's just what you're going to have to do. You have to understand in your own mind that, this is my lot in life right now. I really want to make this happen. So here's what I'm going to have to do. I'm just going to have to dedicate this amount of time, to get things done. Now, to give you a little bit of a farther insight, I have to I had to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, sometimes 3 a.m. in the morning, to be able to make it to my job on time. So I used to get up at about 4 a.m., go to work, have a full day. Now, the job that I had was a very physical job, so I was pretty much drained at the end of the day. Like, some days were so huge that, as far as the workload was concerned, that I hardly had any energy. Now, keep in mind, after a long day, I also go to the gym. Now, the gym has taught me some really cool stuff about myself, and one of those things is a work ethic. It really sort of drove the point home with me that, if I want results, it's up to me. I'm going to have to drag myself out of bed or out of whatever comfortable situation I'm finding myself in and actually make those improvements and take those steps myself. It's not up to anybody else to build, the image that I want to have for myself, and it's not for anyone else. It is for myself. It is a very selfish reason that I go to the gym, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I'm hoping that my wife enjoys the results too. I mean, I don't want her to be married to some Jabba the Hutt kind of guy. But anyway, yeah, so that's what the gym has sort of taught me. If you want results, you're really going to have to get yourself out of that comfort zone and go for it yourself. And I took that work ethic, and I applied it to this as well. So what I pretty much did was I thought, you know what, it is up to me. I want this business to take off. I know I can help people. I know I've got something that they might want, and I know that it's something that they can definitely use and need. And I know I can provide it for them, but unless I take those steps of, going out there and, shouting it from the rooftops and emailing people and calling them and almost to a point harassing people sometimes, it might not be the best way to go for you. I don't know. But for me, it's like, look, I know I can help people, but unless I'm given that chance and unless I make that chance happen, so it's not really a chance, but unless I make that meeting happen, unless I make those people understand why they need a service like what I have to provide, then there is no way that I'm ever going to be able to get customers, because putting up a website, putting up a Facebook page, putting up an Instagram page, and constantly posting to those and hoping by some miracle that someone out there is listening and they're like, yeah, and then someone else is listening, and then it just builds off of that just because you're such a great person or because you have such an awesome service. It just doesn't happen. You need to go out there and you need to mine and you need to grind and you need to get things done, and it's all on you. And that's what I found. It is absolutely all on me. So I used to come, I used to like go to work, like wake up at 4 a.m., go to work, go to the gym, come home, see my kids and wife, and then pack myself up, go into my office, and be there until like about 11:30 or 12 p.m. at night. And then I'd go and get in bed, and then crawl out of bed every morning, same sort of time, and do it all over again. And that's why I was about to pack it in, because, a few months ago I was about to pack it in because I wasn't seeing any results from my labor. Now, what I didn't understand was I'm doing all the wrong things. I'm working hard, but I'm chasing my own tail. There was a business owner that I spoke to not all that long ago. It was probably about like last week. And he basically said, look, you need to be a bit more aggressive with the way that you approach customers. And it's not in me to do that, It's not in me to like almost harass people and cold call people or email them and then follow up with a phone call and be really, aggressive with the way that I market myself. But at the end of the day, the guy's right, and maybe you need to hear this kind of thing as well. If you're sending out emails and nobody's responding and you're not getting yourself in front of the right people, then maybe you need to find the right people to put yourself in front of. Email the right people and also call them. Don't just email them, because a lot of times emails kind of get lost in the spam folder and those guys never see them. Whereas a call, yeah, you might get a secretary, but you can at least ask questions like, look, when's the best time to reach them? I've emailed him. I haven't heard back from this person that I emailed, and I'd love to talk to them about this, and that. Now, you can get a couple of responses. You can get a few responses, but basically you're either going to get told, yes, you're going to be able to reach them on this number on such and such a date or at this time or at these times, or you're going to get told, forget it, no one's interested. Try somewhere else. Thanks for your time, but we're not interested. And they're the only basic responses that you're going to get. So don't be afraid of getting told no. And for the love of everything, don't take the first no as the only thing that is ever going to happen to you. Because a lot of times, these people, these businesses get solicited all the time by all sorts of salespeople, and they kind of get sick of it after a while, and I can understand their point of view. They don't necessarily want to keep hearing from people that all they want to do is sell to them and whatever. And I don't want to be one of those guys, which is my way of thinking was like, if I send you an email and I give you a phone call, then that should be enough for you to understand that I'm interested, and what I have for you is actually something that's going to help your business. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the way that you sort of come across. You need to really pursue that, especially if you know that business can definitely do with what you have. Or, that's in my case. In your case, it might be selling a product or, to the general public, or it might be selling a service, or it might be selling whatever you might have. But it's definitely up to you to keep going. So, there's that. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that I recently gave my initial job my resignation. So it's kind of scary to think of if I think about it too much. But at the same time, I know it's the right move. I've been debating for a long time about, do I keep going with this 2-job thing? Do I, what am I doing? What exactly is it that I'm doing? I tried to do my research about what the right move was, and there was a bunch of articles I read on, no, you should keep slugging away at it and keep your day job, and at night you're going to be able to work on your business and make it happen that way, and eventually it's going to grow. Now, that word eventually doesn't mean much. It could mean anything from now to eternity. and it may never happen. So I hate words like coming soon or eventually. Those terms just don't mean too much to someone like me. But anyway, so there's that point of the argument. The other point of the other side of the argument is I've read a whole bunch of other articles and heard a bunch of interviews of entrepreneurs that are now successful that pretty much said, you know what, I gave my boss my resignation when I had this idea, and I went and I worked at it, and I that's why I now have the success that I do. And those stories are really inspirational, and for the most part, they sound like success is going to come overnight or in a couple of weeks or whatever the case is. But you know what? I had a hard time knowing or understanding or thinking that is what was going to happen to me. So with me, I kind of did like a hybrid thing where I worked for as long as I could. But now that my business is actually gaining some traction and my customers and my clients are demanding a lot more time for me to be able to put in so that they can get a quality service from me, then it's no longer feasible for me to, go and slug it out for an entire day, get tired, and then come home and expect that my brain is going to, still be as alive as I need it to be in order for me to get stuff done. And I'm sure that you understand that because you'll know what hard work feels like and you'll know what your body reacts like to it. So there's no way that you're going to be able to be fresh and still, have a sharp mind to be on the ball to produce some really good work at the end of a very long shift. So to me right now, that's pretty much what makes sense. Is I need to really work with my customers. I really need to look for more customers, and I need the time to be able to do that with. So that's where I'm at right now, and that's pretty much how I got here. It's about slugging it out. It's about putting that really massive effort and getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of my own comfort zone, and really doing what needs to be done so that I can one day be at the place where I want to be. And that's pretty much where I'm at. And hopefully you guys can take this information away with you and have a think about if you're willing to put in that kind of effort. Because if you're not, I wouldn't recommend starting anything. It's just going to be a drain on you. It's going to be frustrating when you don't see results coming in, because it was frustrating for me. And at the end of the day, if you're only going to end up giving up, then you will have put a massive effort for maybe a couple of months or whatever the time frame is for you, like 6 months or a year or whatever, and then you're just going to pack it in and it will have all been for nothing. So please think about what you actually want to achieve and whether you're strong enough to be able to commit to it and really give it the time and energy it deserves for it to be able to, become a success. Because it's a process. And you need to be able to follow that process all the way through until, you start getting the result that you want. And that's when you're going to be able to get that satisfaction like, yes, it's working. All my hard work is for something. It's a payoff. It's, and it's very gratifying when you start getting those results. But until that starts to happen, you're going to need to really work your tail off. And again, if you're not prepared to do so, then have a very serious think about what it is that you really want to do. But anyway, so that's pretty much where I'm at. That's what's been happening with me recently. And, I hope that this information has helped you out. I hope that you can take something away from it and learn from it. And maybe your situation's different. If it is, that's cool. I totally respect that. If you have, if you have a little bit more money behind you and you're able to start a business, that's even better. Whatever your situation is, keep going with it. If you're serious about the results you want to achieve, you're going to need to put in the effort and the time that it's going to take for you to be able to get that success. But I know you can. I absolutely believe you can. And in my situation, even as dire as everything might seem from the outside, I believe that what I have and what I have been doing and what I am doing is all for something, and I'm seeing results. And because of that, I can keep going and keep working and make it better. And, that's what you're eventually going to get up to if you're not there already. So that's pretty much all the advice that I had for you, as far as, where I'm at. And, if you enjoyed this episode, and you want to hear more, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know what your thoughts are on where you are at, and if you've had a sort of similar story to me, or anything along those lines. Just let me know where you're kind of at, what how you started, or if you haven't started, what's holding you back. What are some of the things that you think may or may not happen for you? So anyway, it's up to you to leave those comments. I absolutely do read through all of those, so I am very excited to hear from you about those situations that you're finding yourself in, and the questions that you're wrestling with right now. But anyway, until next time, I hope that this has been helpful. I hope you have had a good week so far, and I will catch you on the next episode. Until then, take it easy and sayonara.